perfectly tender, but still charbroiled, sticky sauced ribs are right here, and they are super simple, and they're the best ribs I've had. Let's make them. So to start, I have my baby back ribs here, a whole rack of them. Now, what is the difference between baby back and other ribs? So spare ribs are a little bit bigger. They're not quite as tender. Baby back have much more tender because they're more lean. They're closer to the loin, and they're a little bit smaller. So they usually start around maybe 6 inches up here and they taper down. That's a baby back. And that means it's just gonna be a little bit more enjoyable to eat, more fun, and it actually soaks in the flavors really well. So it's usually the one you want to use the most. It can be a slightly more expensive cut to have, but it's the ribs that you kind of are sought after. They're just like those really good ribs. So we want to use the best ones to start with. So that's what we're using. I also make sure to buy ones that, don't buy ones that are brined. You don't want a salt solution on them or anything. You just want them clean, simple ribs. So we have a spice rub. Now, we're not going to put these on a smoker, and when you go to a really good restaurant or great places, usually they have a smoked wonderful experience. Most of us at home don't have a smoker, and even if we do, it can be more work. So this is a way to do it without a smoker. So we have lots of spices we want to use. The really important one is brown sugar. You know, I try not to use sugar if I don't need to, but in this case, you need the brown sugar to add the sweetness and that depth of flavor. We have salt, super important. You need salt. It enhances the meat. It seasons it. Smoked paprika. It is smoked, so it has that really good flavor. We have garlic powder, onion powder. We have some mustard powder over here. Again, it all offsets and works together. A little bit of cayenne and a little bit of celery seed. It's a little bit surprising, but honestly, these working together, I'm just gonna dump them in here and make sure I have them well mixed. So this spice rub with that smoked paprika with all those other flavors, we're gonna slightly mimic being in a smoker. Obviously, it won't be quite the same, but these ribs, they are gonna be sticky, delicious. And you know what the big secret is here? The best ribs, to me, unless you have a smoker, they're gonna be put in the oven and slow baked. Tightly to make sure everything is retained inside of them, but slowly baked until they are just perfectly tender. Then you finish them on the grill with some good sauce. So you get them that sticky. That's how mom always did her ribs growing up. That's how ribs, to me, you do at home if you just wanna mimic the best you can at home. So what we're gonna do is use all this rub, and yeah, it's a lot of rub, but what I'm making sure to do is, as you can see, I'm putting it all over them. I'm gonna flip this over. And what I wanna do here is make sure I get, even though the backside has that silver skin sometimes, you can remove that too. I personally like it. I think it keeps it together better. And I think when you go to cut them, it keeps it together better. But what you wanna do is make sure just to season this all over, because we want all these cut sides, all this flavor to be going into them. So I'm gonna do it back, and you can see already it's getting tacky. That's exactly what you want. So I'm gonna put the rub on, and this to me is a great rub for really any time you're gonna do not only ribs, but a lot of meat on the grill. So we're gonna put this on. I'm gonna clean up, I'm gonna get some foil out. We're gonna wrap it up. So I have it on some aluminum foil. Now you can use heavy duty, or you can just, I'm double up mine just to make sure it's enough. And you can see I made sure the spice mix, I did not waste any of it. I want it all on there. And the reason we're wrapping it up, and I wanna do it tightly, is I wanna trap in all that steam. What I want this to do is just slowly and beautifully cook in the oven. And what it's gonna do is become super tender, fall apart tender. So that to me is the trick for doing these at home. Start them in the oven, finish them on the grill. So you get that char broil flavor, that sticky, wonderful sauce, everything later. So I have it tightly wrapped, perfect. I'm gonna keep the parchment underneath it, just in case anything seeps out. We're gonna put these in the oven, let them slowly go. We're gonna make a sauce in between, and it will be great. While those ribs are just slowly baking in the oven, we're gonna get a quick sauce ready. Now, yes, you could use your favorite jarred sauce. Guys, when we're doing a summer cookout or a grill out, you're having people over, it's kind of nice to, you know, maybe make your own. And honestly, it's pretty quick. And that's what I like. And I know we always say, oh, it's pretty quick, but it takes time. It does take a little bit of time, but I like knowing what goes into my barbecue sauce. And I think it's more special, and I do actually think it tastes better. It's just like dressings. When you start making your own at home, you start realizing, this is good. That's what this is. So I have a little bit of oil heating up on the stove in a saucepan. I wanna take some onion, and I just wanna slowly saute the onion. So what this is gonna do is give us a little bit sweeter onion in the bottom. It's gonna slowly soften it. And what I wanna do right when the onion goes in there is I like to add the salt. This actually brings out some of the moisture in the onions, helps them cook down a little bit quicker, but it also seasons that first layer. And I think seasoning as layers as we go and we make something is so much better. So we're gonna saute this until it's just getting softened, not too brown, and we'll move on. I have some garlic chopped up, just a couple cloves, and I have it minced, and I now wanna add it. So the onion are done, and in the last 30 seconds, I like to add the garlic, just because I don't want the garlic to burn or turn bitter. So I like it to get warm and heat through with the onion, but not get brown and bitter. So really, as soon as you smell that garlic, which is almost instantly, you know it's pretty much good to go. So then I add in my tomato paste. Now, we're using ketchup and tomato paste, but there's a good reason for that. Tomato paste has a really deep flavor, it has a sweetness to it, and it's really the condensed essence of tomato. But I do like to add it and get it cooking a little bit before I add everything else, because tomato paste can sometimes have a little bit more of a raw flavor, and I think when you cook it, you actually start to caramelize the sugars from that tomato paste and get a deeper, richer flavor. So we're just gonna cook this for a minute or two until it looks a little bit darker, then we'll add everything else. After a couple minutes of cooking the paste, you can kind of tell it gets a little darker, a little drier, and you just stir it the whole time you're doing it, and you can kind of just tell it's starting to condense. That's what you want, that deeper, richer flavor. So now we're gonna add everything else. Now I'm cooking this because I want it to condense and get sticky. The sweetness will come out from what we're adding. So we're gonna add some ketchup. Now, ketchup obviously is classic. It has some sweetness in it. I sometimes will actually use a sugar-free ketchup. That's almost what I always keep on hand. And then though, the sugar is coming from molasses. So when all these are cooked, if they were just raw together, they wouldn't really marry their flavors and they wouldn't really become that sticky type barbecue sauce you want. So we need to add in things like molasses, and I do molasses instead of brown sugar for a good reason. Brown sugar can have a really sweet overtone, where molasses gives you that depth of flavor, and that's what you need. Here we're adding some apple cider vinegar. It's acidity, it's gonna balance out all these flavors, and that's really what you need here. It's all a balancing act of different flavors. We're gonna add a little bit of prepared yellow mustard. That sounds like a surprise, but it's a very small amount, and what this does again, it tempers out the flavors, and I think it's super essential. So we're gonna keep stirring that, and then one little ingredient, this is optional, but if you want a smoky finish to your sauce, a little secret tinge, you add a very, very small amount of liquid smoke. Now, liquid smoke is actually pulled from when they smoke, they take the condensation and create liquid smoke. And so you get that essence of like a smoker, and it instantly just makes you smell like a barbecue. So I'm gonna stir this all together. We're gonna bring it to a simmer, let it simmer for just like 10 minutes, and then put it on the back and let it just be on low until the ribs are ready. So these have been baking a couple hours, and let me show you why this is the best way. Let's open these up. Okay, you're gonna say, those do not look like great ribs. No, but you know what they are right now? They're super tender, beautifully flavored ribs. So how I check is, one, you just know by time, but also, I mean, my knife just is going in with like no resistance. That meat is so fall apart tender. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing, you guys. So what I have here is now where we're gonna take this out to the grill, and we want the outside to get a little bit dried out, but also what we're gonna do is caramelize onto it on the grill that wonderful barbecue sauce we made. So see how beautiful and thick it got? So we just cooked it down a little bit. What I wanna do, some of it we're obviously gonna save for, you know, serving with them, but then I wanna take a good amount out, and we're gonna actually brush this on as it's on the grill so it can just baste on there, caramelize, which means, when I say caramelize, what I mean is the sugars in this barbecue sauce are going to brown and get richer and kind of stick to this, like the sticky barbecue sauce. My mouth is watering. I hope yours is too. So we have a brush, we have the sauce. We're gonna take these out, and we're gonna put them on a grill. And yes, the pan is still hot, so I'm gonna grab hot pads. So I'm putting the ribs right on the grill, and this isn't about cooking them. They're pretty much cooked. This is about getting that great skin and texture on the outside that we want. So it really only takes, you know, not that long, 15, 20 minutes, maybe more. But then we're gonna start just brushing this on, because what I want this to do, you can see it's a nice thick sauce, but I want this to really just kind of roast and charbroil right on to the ribs, because what else is gonna make them even better? So I'm gonna brush this all over the top of them. I'm gonna close the lid, and I'm gonna let it just bake and grill right on. Because obviously if it's on too long, it would just burn. So we just want it to really get that beautiful caramelized, and I might do it one more time here while they're on, just to make sure it gets that good shiny exterior that's sticky and delicious. And then in a few minutes, we'll bring them right back inside. I pulled these off the grill a couple minutes ago, and you can see, look how sticky and condensed that sauce has become. That's what you want to me. I mean, to me, a rib, it kind of needs to be sticky. It kind of needs to be just that beautiful texture where the sauce clings to it. But now, you've all these, you'd have to find, so you have to look, where are the delineations, and sometimes they're angled, and you just have to start cutting them in between them, and you get all those beautiful pieces in between. I mean, look, okay, do you see how this is just falling apart? Look at that, how it just comes off. That to me is like the gorgeous part. So we have the extra sauce in a bowl, you can serve it with it. This is all hands in. It gets messy, it gets dirty, what are you gonna do? So this is what I love, look, you don't even have to chew it off the bone. Look at that. It just is coming right off. Oh, to me, it's like, what can be better than that? Finger looking good. Those are so good. What do I like? I actually get a smokiness or at least a charbroiled flavor. That's part of the grill, and it's part of that little bit of liquid smoke we put in that barbecue sauce. But also you get a flavor then from the rib itself, that actual meat. If you come in here, look how tender and juicy that is. That is good rib. And it's actually really good meat, and that's that dry rub we put on it. So it really just baked with that in the foil, stayed all in there, got into the meat, and now you have fall apart tender ribs that are just delicious. So what do I hope you do with this? I hope you make ribs, because you're gonna wanna make them all the time. I also hope you share this video around, because when you share these videos, of course it helps me, but it helps everyone else see this is super doable. If I can do it, all of you can do it, and it puts food on the table, maybe for a crowd, maybe for a grill out, maybe for your dad for a special day, who knows? It gets it out there and it's delicious. So check my website, wiseguy.com, for this recipe and all my other recipes. Until then, enjoy some ribs.